My name is Richard Covello, and in this video I'm going to talk about NADA, an ear acupuncture technique that is taught to many different types of providers. I was asked to do a presentation in a communications class, and I thought that NADA was a great technique to talk about since we're discussing communications. But before we get started, I'd like everybody to do a little warm-up for communications and NADA. We're going to do a little ear massage, get us focused and listening. Listening is a really important skill to develop. Now that our ears are all warmed up and we're ready to communicate and talk about NADA, I would like to point out that 75% of my presentation is going to be scientifically based, and 25% of my presentation is going to be my artistic interpretation of NADA, Chinese medicine, based on my practice and how I encourage you to challenge the 75% scientific part of my presentation. Challenge it consistently. Try it out. Test it for yourself. My artistic interpretation is my own. If some of what I say resonates with you, makes sense to you, feel free to incorporate it into your own practice. If it doesn't resonate with you, no harm, no foul. Just discard it. The NADA protocol was designed in the 1970s. A group of providers working together to treat the heroin epidemic wanted to add a low-cost, affordable treatment option, and they found this in the NADA protocol/ear acupuncture. The goal of the NADA program, the goal of the points, are to increase a patient's ability to hear and learn new information. In order to understand the NADA protocol, you need to understand how heroin works. Heroin enters the brain and rapidly converts to morphine. It produces an intense pleasure, a surge, a rush, a feel-good. And that's the power this drug has over its victims. In order to understand NADA, we have to understand addictive drugs. Addictive drugs affect the reward and learning center of your brain. The reward and learning center of your brain was intended to teach you when you eat foods that are good for you and make you feel good, you get a release of dopamine in your brain. And then you learn, hey, that food made me feel good. I had a cannoli, I'm going to have another cannoli. Okay? That's how that area of your brain works. In the list above, you can see how dopamine stimulates the brain. We have chocolate at 50%. We have sex at 100% increase in dopamine. And then you can see the addictive drugs and how potent they are, with nicotine more potent than sex, followed by cocaine, and then heroin. Remember, the goal of NADA is to increase a patient's capacity to learn by listening, and that's why we use ear points. Your ear is a sense organ responsible for converting sounds into emotions. In Chinese medicine, we associate the ear with the emotion fear. But in fact, I could say something that makes you happy. I could say something that makes you sad. I could say something that makes you angry. Research tells us that unpleasant sounds or even unpleasant music turns on the emotion center of the brain and gets us ready to fight or flight. On the opposite end, pleasant sounds and pleasant music turns off the emotion center of the brain and brings down our heart rate and decreases breathing and gets us to relax. Remember, the goal of the NADA protocol is to increase an addict's ability to listen and learn new skills to help them deal with addiction. The points selected are kidney, to deal with fear and anxiety, liver to deal with anger, lung to deal with grief, and also one of the physicians or acupuncturists who developed the protocol had experience treating opium addiction, and opiate addictions are frequently, opium is smoked. We have sympathetic, which is used to calm down the nervous system, and Shen Men to calm the mind. All these points affect the emotion area of the brain via the ear. I've always found the treatment of addiction to be very challenging. I've been able to get patients to what I call the choice point. This is a point where, as if they've gone back in time to that first time they had to choose between using a drug and not using a drug. And if they associate the drug with pain and discomfort, they're more likely to stop using. If they associate it with pleasure, they're more likely to relapse. By understanding the goal of NADA, you'll use it to give the patient the tools and knowledge they need to help them go into recovery. And I hope this information is of help to you.